Welcome to our video lecture series of Economics NCERT book Indian Economic Development, and I am Purnima Chaudhary. So if you are new to the channel, please subscribe the channel, and also if you like the videos, give a thumbs up to it. Okay, so let's get started. So in this video, we will be talking about the LPG reforms in 1991. So first start with the conditions of India before 1991. So there were the problems of debt trap, adverse balance of payment, inflation, and there was growing inefficiency in the use of resources. Also, mismanagement of firms in the economy. Losses of public sector undertakings was rising like mountains. Next problem faced by Indian economy was various distortions like poor technological development and shortage of foreign exchange reserves. Government was taking impudent borrowings from abroad. And then major problem was inefficient management of the entire Indian economy in 1980s due to lack of finance, defective policies and inefficient administration. So due to all these drawbacks, economic reforms were introduced in 1885. However, these reforms were also not proved to be of much importance. Therefore, new economic policy, that is NEP, was set in motion in 1991. The thought behind the reforms was towards creating the more competitive environment in the economy and to remove the barriers to regrowth of economy. This economic policy is called new because it measures just opposite to the economic policy prior to 1991. This new economic policy involves three economic reforms to strengthen the base of Indian economy, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. What we generally know is the LPG reforms of 1991. So, this economic policy can also be divided into short run measures, which is also known as stabilization method, and long run measures, which are called structural reforms. Actually, short run measures focused on two objectives, that is, to bring inflation under control and to improve balance of payment crisis, whereas long run measures focused on improving the efficiency of economy and increasing its international competitiveness. So starting with privatization, it means transfer of ownership or transfer of management of a government owned enterprise to the private hands. Prior to 1991, public sector was given greater degree of priority and importance, but the desired result could not be achieved by the performance of public sector undertakings. This new economic policy aims at expanding private sector by removing the strict control over it and making it free to innovate and progress. Government also tried to improve efficiency of some public sector companies by granting them special status of Navratnas and Mini Ratnas. These were given greater managerial and operational autonomy in various decisions to run their company effectively. This privatization can be done in two ways: by withdrawal of the government ownership and management of public sector companies and transfer of ownership to the private sector, and secondly, privatization can be done by outright sale of public sector companies. So, privatization of PSUs by selling part of equity of those public sector undertakings to the private sector is known as disinvestment. It means disinvestment is a part of privatization. The purpose of privatization is to improve financial discipline to facilitate modernization by encouraging private sector to invest and participate in economic development with the administrative efficiency. Now talking about the positive impacts of privatization or the benefits arised by privatization. So first is to it improves the efficiency of management. So, privatization makes the entrepreneurs free to make quick decisions without interference by the government. That is better decision making. Then, second is diversification of production. So, private sector functions efficiently to satisfy the unlimited wants of consumers in order to create a market for its production. Privatization results in diversification and expansion of production. It also promotes consumer sovereignty. As we know, consumer sovereignty means consumer is the kingpin of the market. It means that producers are pressurized to produce that commodity which is demanded by the consumers. Thirdly, increase in FDI, foreign direct investment. So privatization provides strong chance to the inflow of FDI as financial discipline improves in the country due to the capital investment by the private sector. Other countries like to invest here because of the expanded domestic market. The next is competitiveness. So private capital and managerial capabilities could be effectively utilized to improve the performance. This would further increase competitiveness in domestic as well as international markets. It helps in making PSUs more competitive. Then, financial discipline. So, earlier there were undue delays in sanctioning of funds due to complexities in the administrative setup. It was the privatization which maintains financial discipline by regular supply of funds. Then, next point is reduction in deficits. See, privatization helps in reducing the burden on government reserves, which results from the public subsidizing from the chronically loss making PSUs. Thus, privatization helps in reviving sick units which have become a liability on the public sectors. So, these were the positive sides of privatization. Now, negative side. So, first is neglect of social interest. So, private sector functions mainly with the objective of profit maximization, which may be done at the cost of social welfare of people. Thus, a socialistic pattern of society may just be a dream reality as the social interest is not the objective of the private sector. Secondly, high priced goods. So, privatization functions on the basis of market mechanism. So, when prices rise, demand by those who cannot pay this price would fall, and if it continues, this may become a major problem of inflation. And if inflation is not controlled, it may affect the majority adversely. Third, creation of monopoly. Privatization, if remains uncontrolled, it may turn into monopoly, where private owners have monopoly control over the market, and if this monopoly power continues, it may result in concentration of economic powers in few big hands. Then privatization does not work towards achieving the objective of full employment, as it is guided by profit motive, and in order to cut down cost it may cause retrenchment and consequent unemployment, that is privatization increases unemployment. Then privatization in many PSUs resulted in voluntary retirement of many workers because of unsatisfactory job condition laid by the private sector. It will further increase greater disparities in income and wealth. After considering the negative sides of privatization, we can conclude that privatization offers both opportunities and threat to the economy. But we have to privatize in such a manner so that we make the maximum of opportunities and at the same time minimizing the threats or challenges to the economy. Then comes the liberalization. So it is made from the word liberty, which means freedom. As discussed earlier in this chapter, rules and regulations which were framed to regulate the economic activities itself became major hindrances in the growth and development of the economy. So, liberalization was introduced to end these restrictions. It was introduced to open up various sectors on the economy. Actually, liberalization means relaxation of previous government restrictions. Thus, when government liberalizes trade, it means it has removed the tariff, subsidies, and other restrictions on the flow of goods and services between countries. Reforms were made in many major sectors of the economy under liberalization, like reforms in industrial sector, reforms in financial sector, reforms in trade and investment policy, fiscal or trade reforms, and lastly foreign exchange reforms. All these five reforms includes abolition of licensing, contraction of public sector, de-reservation of production areas, and expansion of production capacity. Thus, objective of liberalization was to increase competition among domestic industries, to increase foreign capital formation and technology, to decrease the debt burden of country, to encourage export and import of goods and services, and lastly, to expand the size of market. The last economic reform which came to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of public sector is globalization, which generally means the integration of domestic economy with the world economy. It is a complex phenomenon. Globalization is the result of the set of various policies that are aimed at transforming the world towards greater independence and integration. It involves creation of networks and activities crossing economic, social and geographical boundaries. Globalization means turning the world into one whole or creating a borderless world. Actually, globalization is the result of the policies of liberalization and privatization. It aims at free interaction among all the countries of the world in various fields like trade, technology, loans, outsourcing, investment, etc. In the Indian context, it means opening up of the economy to foreign direct investment, joint ventures, and foreign collaborations and encouraging privatization. As a result of globalization efforts taken by India, we find all types of goods available here. It aims at integrating the world into one global village. By globalization, we mean the expansion of trade all over the world, and this process is successfully taken by the MNCs. Multinational corporations is one which undertakes FDIs in different countries of the world. It owns or controls income generation assets in more than one country and engages in the process of industrial production. According to the report of United Nations on MNCs, there are so many MNCs in operation with lots of subsidiaries of the world. Before 1990s, India had a closed market which invited foreign technology, but not the foreign management. But today, with the entrance of MNCs in India, both of the essential requirements have been available under a single roof. Now, talking about the benefits of globalization, first is it increases the inflow of foreign capital, then it increases the incoming of updated technology. Next, it updated technology reduces the capital output ratio. That means with the same amount of capital, we can produce more. Then it develops the export sphere, which in turn increases the degree of competition. It also improves the allocated efficiency of resources. Then, with the entry of foreign competition and the removal of import tariff barriers, domestic industry will be subject to price reducing and quality improving effects in the domestic economy. It also believed that due to globalization, efficiency of banking and financial sectors will improve. Then globalization has been able to establish links in such a way that the happenings in India can be influenced by events happenings in the rest of the world. It provides easy access to global markets. Then talking about the demerits of globalization. So first is by globalization, developed economy grew more than the developing economies because it is generally said that globalization is a policy of the developed countries to expand their markets in other countries. Secondly, one study has also disclosed that in the process of globalization, the economies move away from one another more than coming together. Then it has widened the economic disparities among nations and people already, which is becoming more weight. Then it is increasing pressure on the economies for structural and conceptual readjustment to a breaking point. This is a point where no profit and no loss arises. Then it creates redistribution of economic power at the world level and also redistribution of political powers. But the benefits of globalization are heavier than the demerits, and the process of globalization is helping our country in becoming more developed. Measures towards globalization. So, first is opening the Indian economy to foreign capital. Then, import liberalization, that means import duties and tariffs on imports have been cut down. Then, convertibility of rupee means allow the economy to determine its own exchange rates in the international market without any official interference. Then, modification in technology agreements. So, all foreign collaborations concerning high technology have been made easy by the government, and now no permission is required for testing domestically tested technology abroad. Then, foreign companies have been allowed to use their trademarks in India. Foreign companies can deal in immovable property in India. Then, restrictions on transfer of shares have been removed. It is supposed that all these measures are towards the integration of Indian economy with the world economy. Now we will discuss about the concept of outsourcing. This is one of the important benefit came out of the globalization. It is an emerging business activity. As information technology sector is growing faster, outsourcing has become an important need of the present times in the international arena. In outsourcing, a company hires regular services from external sources, mostly from other countries, which were previously provided internally or from within the country, like legal advice, computer services, advertisement, security, each provided by the respective department of the company. India has become a destination for global outsourcing in the post reform periods because of low wage rate and availability of skilled manpower. Now, the concept of World Trade Organization. So, there are many international organizations which have facilitated the process of globalization. Chief among them are International Monetary Fund, that is IMF, then IBRD, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, then WTO, World Trade Organization. But in our syllabus, we have to study only about World Trade Organization. So it is a powerful body which broadly aims at making the whole world a big village where there is a free flow of goods, services, capital, technology, and people. And not only this, where there are no barriers to trade. World Trade Organization is a full-fledged international organization. It was founded in January 1995. Before WTO came into existence, the organization was GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. It involved only goods, but WTO involves trades in both goods and services. 157 countries are the members of WTO, and it is a full-fledged international organization. Here all issues are decided by voting, and each nation has one vote. WTO aims at enlarging production and trade of services to ensure optimum utilization of world's resources. It provides platform for trade negotiations among its member countries. It handles trade disputes through dispute settlement body. WTO monitors national trade policies. It provides technical assistance and training to developing countries. So India has opportunity to become the prime production center of the world. There is no doubt that due to economic reforms, the economic situation has now changed as compared to what it was in 1991. Exports were growing, imports growth has lagged behind. So both trade deficit and BOP current account deficits have considerably been brought to be under control and reasonably reduced. Also, rupee has become strong currency now. So that's all for today. Now let's recap it fast so that things don't get mismatched in your mind. We started our chapter with the performances of various sectors between the period 1950 to 1990. It was quite satisfactory in respect to agriculture, industry, and trade. But still, there were many problems in the development of the Indian economy, due to which economic reforms were set in motion in 1991 and named as New Economic Policy. Its main features were liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Privatization means transferring the public sector enterprises in the hands of private sectors so that the efficiency of both the sectors may improve, and laws of making PSUs which have become burden on the economy may be revived. Then we did both the advantages and disadvantages of privatization. Then we talked about the meaning of liberalization and what were its objectives, like to increase competition among domestic industry and to increase foreign capital formation and technology, plus to encourage export and import of goods and services, and lastly to expand the size of market. So liberalization was done in five major sectors of the economy: industrial sector, financial sector, tax reforms, trade and investment policy reforms, foreign exchange reforms. Then we talked that globalization is the result of the set of various policies that were introduced at transforming the world towards greater independence and integration. Then we talked about the benefits and demerits of globalization and what were the measures towards globalization. And also we talked about outsourcing, that in outsourcing a company hires regular services from external sources, mostly from other countries, which were previously provided internally or from within the country, like legal advice, computer service, advertisement, security, each provided by the respective department of the company. Then we talked about the World Trade Organization, that it was founded in January 1995, and before this, the existence of GATT was there, that is General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. So WTO aimed at making the whole world a big village when there is a free flow of goods, services, capital, technology, and people, and not only this, where there are no barriers to trade. So that's all for today. If you like the video, please give a thumbs up, also comment on this, and if yet not subscribed, just subscribe to my channel so that you got all the recent updates whatever I post. And if you need notes on any of my videos, you can contact me on any social media platform or directly contact Success Grabbers Tutorials. Thank you.